Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are, or good evening if you're watching it in other time zones. This is Everett O'Keefe, and I'm super excited today because we have a book launch live cast with none other than Tammy Tiller-Hewitt. And this is exciting because her book is now live on Amazon, Untie Every Knot. And I'm excited to bring her on so you can learn more about her story and learn more about the book, and more importantly, what the book can do for you. Because Tammy didn't go through all this trouble of writing a book just to have a book out there. She did it to impact lives and to help you. So let's bring on Tammy Tiller-Hewitt. Tammy, how are you doing today?
Hey, Everett, I'm doing well. I'm so excited about today. It seems like it was forever ago when we planned this, and here we are.
Absolutely. This is great. Yeah, go back to some of our first initial conversations about your book, and when we talked first about what you wanted to accomplish with it. And but you were already well underway in the writing of your content and your story. So why don't you tell us all about Untie Every Knot? In fact, hold it up. You've got a copy.
Oh, I do.
There. That's right. So Untie Every Knot, and it's discover what knots are causing you to miss out, chicken out, or be counted out.
That is correct.
I even remember us having some fun working on that subtitle because
Yeah.
it's not the normal subtitle for a book.
Yeah. I had so much fun at so many places of the preparation. I loved coming up with the cover. That cover contest was so much fun, and a lot of you listening helped select the cover, so that was super fun. And what I thought was going to end up being the cover with a heart knot didn't, because it did not really represent what I was trying to say in the book. And then yes, it was so fun coming up with the subtitle, and I love that subtitle. Yes, to discover what knots are causing you to miss out, chicken out, or be counted out. So about the book, yes, I was far into it because I have a dream to lead millions to discover their why or their purpose. And it didn't matter what size audience I shared that dream with, whether it was an audience of 1,000 or just a single person sitting next to me on an airplane. And funny, after I told them that dream, the response was always 100% of the time the same. They would say, I have no idea what my purpose is. I have no idea what my why is. And oftentimes they would tell me their age as a kind of an exclamation point. I'm 55 and I don't know my why. I'm 75 and I don't know my why. And so as we engaged in conversation, I found out why they didn't know their purpose. And that's because of excuses. Excuses always around knots, little k, big NOTS, is why they cannot do something, or they should not, or could not. And so that's why I backed the bus up, and I could never reach my dream of leading millions to discover their why if everyone was all knotted up. So I wrote this book, and I'll share more about it later, but that was really the impetus for this book.
So that is fantastic. Now, by the way, there's some people here that are watching with us live and putting comments in. So I'm going to feature those comments.
Awesome.
We just love everyone's feedback about your content and about your book. So, Tammy, when it comes to your book, I mean, discover what knots are causing you. And you wrote, they're very specific, lowercase k, capital NOTS. Tell us what are knots, and like get us into this.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let me just read, because I really think that sums it up. And it said, this book is about knots, little k, big NOTS. It's about the knots we tie around ourselves, around our dreams, around our purpose, and even around our God-given destiny. It's about the knots we subscribe to or blame others for binding. We get so tangled up in our own knots that it's nearly impossible to recognize their paralyzing, life-limiting, dream smashing grip. Knots, unlike little k, big NOTS, can serve an important purpose. The problem is their purpose becomes so blurred that instead of serving as a temporary safety handle, they become a permanent death-gripping stronghold. So I wrote this book so together we could learn to identify and forever untie the Gordian-sized knots holding us back. This book is for anyone who has allowed a knot to cause them to miss out, chicken out, or be counted out.
I absolutely love that. You made a reference there to Gordian knot. Is this an appropriate time to tell that story?
Probably not. I would like for them to be surprised. And it's a wonderful story, and it's one that will be memorable, and it's right up front in chapter 1. So you grab this book. In fact, you can go to my website at tammytillerhewitt.com and download a free copy of the first chapter. And hopefully that will hook you where you can't wait to go on to the next 13.
So in fact, while we're at this, let me bring up this. So the book right now is for sale on Amazon. Untie Every Knot. You just search for that, or Tammy Tiller-Hewitt, or better yet, use the URL that is floating across the bottom of the screen right now. And right now, the Kindle version of the book is available for 99 cents. And so we would certainly encourage you to pick that up. And we're getting some good feedback about your book. In fact, I was going to share a couple comments here. Let me take this off the screen. And Kimberly Grant already purchased one for me and as a Christmas present for colleagues.
Awesome.
Kathy says, oh yeah, this is a perfect Christmas gift.
Thanks, Kath.
And Kim Collins is saying, go girl.
Oh, thanks, Kim.
And let me share one from Dawn. I have my book and gifts for my peeps too. Do you? Don't miss out, chicken out, or be counted out.
Oh, thanks, Dawn.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
So what would you say, obviously you encountered some knots in your life. And is there a knot that you'd be willing to share with us that, has impacted you?
Well, I certainly confess that my big audacious goal of leading millions to discover their why, a lot of knots get around that on who do I think I am? I cannot do that. And really with the internet, I should change that to a B for billions of people to discover their why. So I've tied a lot of knots around that dream. And, even sometimes when I'm on stage talking, I think to myself, who do you think you are up here? People are looking at you thinking this and that. So yeah, you can exude a lot of confidence, but still you're a human and, you still will default back to who do you think you are? So yes, I experience my own knots too.
Yeah, and clearly that resonates with others. Malia pointing out how we're just often our own worst enemies, right? And how we get in the way of things. Now, by the way, there's another comment here. I can't help but sharing.
Ah, that's my girl.
Oh, I love it.
So I'm actually, interestingly enough, I'm actually taping at her house today. So I'm here visiting. So
it's beautiful.
To work, but I'm glad you tuned in, Taylor.
And it's absolutely beautiful. Mary has this to offer for us. Listen carefully when Tammy talks. People listen for good reason.
Thanks, Mary.
Fantastic.
That's nice.
Is there when you were writing this book, there were probably some points where you bumped into some obstacles, some challenges on the way. I know that creating a book is not a straight linear process. So was there any particular challenge you bumped into, or, a lot of people think they're going to write their book in 90 days. That's a little hard, right?
Yeah. I will say probably my biggest challenge is I felt a little schizophrenic. I didn't know if I was writing this as Tammy, the president of a consulting firm, or Tammy, the author of Untie Knots, or Tammy, the mom, or Tammy, the daughter. So I felt really conflicted a lot of times. And I hired Kathy Fayok, who is awesome, as my book coach. And when I first submitted my book to her and to my editorial board, a lot of similar comments came back about, we want to hear more stories about Tammy, because I love to tell stories about movies and, clips from movies that drive home a message. And so they really challenged me to use my own personal stories, and personal that could come from both the professional side and the personal side. But I really had to kind of sit back and reflect and say, okay, instead of talking about Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill on Moneyball, how can I apply this story to something that I've experienced? And I guess that will give more credence to the book and to what I'm trying to say, whether it's around living a regret-proof life, or how to rejection-proof yourself, or how to get clarity over complication. So that was probably, a very long answer for some of the challenges that I faced. And my mom was so generous to allow me to open my book by telling a story about her. And, she raised two, well, I guess two of us are successful all four. She raised four successful children, and infused us with such confidence that we could do anything, anytime, anywhere. And I found out a secret later in life that shocked me and shocked a lot of people that know my mother, who was a successful career woman and mother. So I share that right up front, so people can know, kind of my DNA, why I am the way I am, because I was raised the way I was raised by awesome, loving parents who wouldn't want us to tie knots around ourselves or our dreams.
Well, and that's quite the testimonial. Would you dive a little bit into your background? Because like you said, you talked about, who am I writing this as? Am I writing this as, a mother? Am I writing this as an executive? So tell us a little bit about your background professionally,
Okay.
and what you do.
Okay. Well, so I was born into an awesome family. I promise I won't start from birth on, but just to tell you that my parents eloped when they were 15 and 17. And so before my mom was 21 and my dad was 23, they had 4 kids. It was like bam, 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 bam. So very close-knit family, very, the struggles of young parents, but it was fun because I had super cool parents. Everybody wanted our parents. So I was raised that. So right out of high school, I went to work. So I didn't go to college right away. And I got a job at a hospital only because of the relationships that my mom had with the hospital. She ran a surgical practice and had really great relationships with the hospital. So I got a job and really got into healthcare and loved it, and got to a point where I knew I couldn't go any further until I did go to college. And I'm not saying that college is the answer for everyone. I even put that in my book about in a couple of different places. And it's just something I had to have. In healthcare, there, we're pretty snobby, and you have a lot of highly intelligent, not scientists and doctors. So anyway, so I went to college, and then I went to graduate school, and I worked for a health system in the Midwest for 20 years. And I was recruited away by a healthcare consulting firm to go to San Antonio. And it was interesting that it was for a very large organization. It was for the University of Texas Health Science Center, and no medical school had ever outsourced their management team. And I was recruited to be the chief operating officer. And that was through a consulting firm. But I'll fast forward through about 6 months. Once we were relocated, we went down there. The job ended up falling through that they hired me for. So they offered me a lot of other jobs. And I remember one day I was home meeting the cable guy in our house in Texas. My husband was still living up here because my oldest was starting his senior year in high school. So we couldn't leave the address. And so I was home meeting the cable guy, talking to the president of this consulting firm that had moved us down there. And she offered me a few different jobs. And one was the very, very southern tip of Texas. And when I repeated the name of the town out loud, the cable guy came rushing out on his knees backwards from behind the entertainment center and was waving his hands like this and said, I said, let me talk to my husband tonight about that, and hung up with the president of that firm. And when I hung up, he said, ma'am, I don't know you from Adam. I've been in your house for about 5 minutes, but all I know for sure is you would not be a good fit in that city. And he went on to describe a couple of things about the city. And so he, it sounded like he was pretty correct. But that night when I talked to my husband about the other opportunities, and one of which was to stay in San Antonio, where we relocated to ramp up their firm in that city. And that's when my husband said, if we're going to ramp up any firm, it's going to be our own firm. It's going to have our own name on it. And that was literally 20 years ago. And we have not looked back. So that's what started Tiller-Hewitt Healthcare Strategies. And now we work with hospitals and health systems and physician organizations around the country, who want to consistently deliver strategic growth and measurable results. So we've had the honor of working with the best of health systems around this country.
Well, and someone on your staff was put a comment in here about being proud of you and what you're accomplishing.
Thanks, guys. So, I have a great team. Listen, I couldn't do it without the team I have surrounding me. I tell you that for sure. And my son, Tommy, is our chief operating officer. So it's nice to be able to maybe put that college education that I financed to work for me. No, he's so bright. He's so bright. So yeah, he does circles around me.
Well, I tell you, Lois Kramer's providing some great feedback here, and Lois knows her way around as a very accomplished speaker and speaker coach.
Yes.
Malia wants to share how inspiring your story has been. Mary wants to point out that she's got your book on Kindle. Your tips at her fingertips.
Awesome.
And Dawn is talking you up as a speaker. Dawn and Lois both actually have been. So let me take a break here and just plug the book briefly. And so again, the book is available right now on Amazon, and that is Untie Every Knot. Discover what knots are causing you to miss out, chicken out, or be counted out. And you can pick up that book on Amazon right now for 99 cents. The paperback is also available there. So Tammy, coming back to you here, do you have a favorite part of the book or a favorite story from the book that you would like to share with us?
I don't know. I have a lot of great favorite stories because I was touched by all of them. I tell a story in the rejection chapter about something that I experienced in my professional life where I was rejected by a room full of the highest level executives at the organization. And so that's probably a good story for those who, everybody sees, you're on stage performing. They don't see all that's going on backstage and all that, kind of the scars and the bruises that you got along the way. So it was a really good story about having to overcome rejection. And I try really hard not to buy into rejection that, a lot of people want to make it personal, but it's not. If it's personal, it's their personal problem, not mine. And so I try to help people with rejection because I've seen a lot of unbelievable people that have taken rejection so personally, it almost broke them when it was really someone else's problem that they were just letting them get on them. I'd heard once, it's like drinking poison and expecting, someone else to get sick. And so, yeah, so probably the rejection chapter, clarity for me, there's a chapter on clarity. Because I think if you don't have clarity about the direction you're going, you'll tie knots around everything because it's really a sign of just confusion and lack of clarity. So, that's a good chapter too. But I hope everyone will pick up. I mean, for 99 cents on Kindle, you always, whether you have a Kindle or not, you can read it on your smartphone. Everyone has a smartphone or a computer. And that way you can go to it. You're like, I need to hear something about, how I can, not feel rejected today. You can go there. If you need clarity, you can go there. So there are, a lot of great chapters that I think people will do.
On that topic, I was going to say, for anyone watching right now, definitely pick up the Kindle version for 99 cents. Even if you don't read it, pick it up. It'll help Tammy in the launch. And in doing that, help spread the message, because I think we all need this message of how to break out of some of these things that we've really tied ourselves up in. So do that. If you want to pick up the paperback as well, of course, it is there. One of your chapters, you talk about burning the buckets. And that's not a phrase I've heard except from you. So would you mind telling us what you mean by burn the buckets?
Yeah, so it's part of my zero tolerance for excuses. And so I kind of really come out of my inner self on that chapter, because I think a lot of time the bucket is about excuse bucket, about the excuses that we make incessantly. And sometimes we don't even understand, like we've gotten so used to saying them, they don't even feel like excuses. Maybe you call it I'm justifying or whatever, but it's about putting all those excuses into a bucket and flipping a match right into the bucket and letting them go. I've even done some messages where on stage I'll have a humongous bucket and then and have everyone have a piece of paper and start writing their excuses and put them in there before they leave and give them up.
Okay. Don put here that you're not only an excellent healthcare professional, but also an inspirational speaker as well. And I'm bummed I don't have them, but your website has some just beautiful imagery of you speaking in action. Would you share your website with us? I'll put it in the comments log for people.
The address?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tammy Tiller-Hewitt. So there's no hyphen, as you see in my nameplate there. So TammyTiller-Hewitt.com.
Excellent. I just added that to the comment so that they can go there as well. They can find out more. You can find out there more about Tammy. You can find out more about the book. Also, this other services that she offers. And certainly encourage you to do that. Now, Tammy, we've just got a couple minutes left. Is there any other story you want to share or any other information that you'd like to share with people?
No, I don't know that it's so much about information that I want to share, but I just want to share that, this isn't for girls, right? A lot of people think, well, a woman wrote it and it's talking about that. There are a lot of men that were in those audiences or sitting next to me on a plane that we had this conversation. So this book is for everyone, from little kids that as you're a parent trying to convince them not to tie knots around themselves, to adults who have done it and are even unaware that they exist, but they're just so handcuffed. So that's all I want to encourage, that, please don't put this in some bucket that it doesn't belong. It belongs in every bucket, except the excuse bucket. It does not belong in an excuse bucket.
I love it. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for pouring your heart into the book, because we know lots and lots of people talk about writing a book, right? And they probably have all sorts of excuses for having not written it. But a very small percentage of people actually take the time to write a book, and even fewer see it published. And so I just want to congratulate you on what you've done today. This is a big day. Your book is available on Amazon. It's really available worldwide. And in the weeks ahead, will become available at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com and Baker and Taylor and Apple iBooks and all of these different things. And your help sharing this message of helping people break knots. You're to be congratulated, but also to be thanked for taking the time to make it happen.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to thank everyone who has supported me along the way, from my family to my friends to my colleagues. Lois Kramer is another one of my coaches. I talk about Lois in my book as well, about don't be afraid to hire coaches to help you get across the finish line. And a lot of people think, oh, I can't afford that. Are you kidding me? Listen, we can't afford not to. We really can't, because it gets us faster to be able to hit our dreams and our goals, both financially and personally. So invest in yourself. A lot of people stop investing in themselves because there's so many other things going on. You have to just, suck it up, buttercup, and invest in yourself. So thank you to Lois. Thank you to Kathy. Thank you to the entire Tiller-Hewitt team who has helped me with this and sacrificed while I was busy writing and working with Everett and his awesome team at Ignite Press. If you're even thinking about writing a book, you need to hire Kathy and Everett as soon as possible. And they did not ask me to say that. They were part of the secret to this success.
Well, thank you. I mean, you're plugging some of your coaches and sharing some of your coaches with the world. Um, Lois and Kathy, and thank you for your kind words about us. The truth is that none of us get get better quickly on our own. We typically will get better quickly with the help of other people.
That's
And
right.
we can do certain things on our own, but it is certainly harder. So I'm just going to share a few more comments before we run out. Andrea is saying, or Andrea is so proud of you.
Thanks,
Uh,
Danny.
Don, thanking you for sharing the truths. Lois and Kathy are both giving you lots of woohoos, which is terrific.
Thanks, guys.
Vicky, can't wait for an author read audible version, author read
Oh,
audible version. Yep.
Everett will help me with that too, I hope.
Yep, we'll make that happen. That way people can listen, they can read it, they can get it digitally, physically, however they want, but all of those. Well, gosh, Tammy, thanks again for your time. I'm going to take people back to the book cover one more time and then lead us out. But thanks again for all your work.
Thank you.
So let me go to this here. So again, pick up the book. If you don't have it yet, you can pick it up on Amazon for 99 cents on the Kindle. You can pick up the paperback as well. Support Tammy and her launch and really help get this message out to the world. Thank you so much for joining us today on this live cast. Everett O'Keefe from Ignite Press, signing out.